You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt McGackie, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
What is up, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of the show. As always, thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate you. Just a couple little notes before we jump into this episode. The first being, I've noticed a really interesting trend lately. So, as you probably are aware by now, and if you're not, you're about to be aware, I have a few different affiliate links with a few different companies, and when you purchase gear by using those links, you literally are helping me out. So if you're going to be buying stuff anyway, if you could go to tonemob.com/sweetwater for any of your Sweetwater purchasing needs, or tonemob.com/reverb for any of your reverb.com purchasing needs, or now I've got a new one set up that we're trying out, tonemob.com/stringjoy. And we're doing a little testing with that one. So if you plan on purchasing any Stringjoy guitar strings or bass strings in the near future, you can go to tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will help us out and help us try to get this program off the ground. But the trend I was noticing was most apparent on the Sweetwater link. Now, I can't see who buys what, and I don't know anything about the people. That's all hidden from me. But I can see what was purchased and when it was purchased. And there's been a really interesting trend in recording gear. People are buying more and more recording gear. It used to be primarily guitar things, which is understandable. But lately, it's been a lot of recording gear. And that makes me very excited because it feels like maybe people are getting inspired and wanting to create. And I think that's awesome. And if that's you, please share it with me. You can shoot it to me in email or message form. Post it in the Facebook group, all that jazz. I can't get to everything, but I do my best to get back to everybody, and I'd love to see what you're creating. So thank you to everyone who is using that link, and thank you to everyone who is making music out there. That's what it's all about. And one last note is, I think I talked about this on the last episode, the American Cyclops record that I did is up for a vinyl pre-order. So the first 120 copies will be signed by me. Why 120? Because that is the minimum I need to sell in order to break even on it. So that is just the deal with the pressing plant that I am working with. And they will be on purple vinyl. It's a full 12-inch. It's all a legit, well-done, high-quality piece. And yeah, you can find all that information at tonemob.com/store. And if you want to hear the record before making the purchase, go back a few episodes in this podcast stream and you can stream it. It's called Tom, Do You Have Anything Sharp on You? I've talked about it a million times, and a lot of you have listened to it, and a lot of you have messaged me about it, and it means the world. And I'm working on more. So yeah. All right, that's probably enough rambling for this intro. Let's get reacquainted with my buddy Tom Kogut. It's been a long time since we talked, and, we're just so far overdue. We learn about what he's been up to. We learn about BMX. We learn about all kinds of things on this one. So this is a wild ride. If you want to know more about Tom, go way back in the feed to his first episode, and that will set the story. This is more like two good buddies catching up after a really long time. So here you go. Here's an episode with my dude, Tom from Tomkat Pedals. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar stuff, sometimes, once in a while. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Tom Kogut from Tomkat Pedals. It's been a long time, man.
Yes, it's been quite a long time. Over 5 years, I think. So
yeah, that's crazy. That is so insane. I was actually I forgot to do it, but I'm doing it right now. Wow, I just turned into a complete redneck there for a second. I was going to see, yes, episode 19 was you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and we're on like 230 something now. So
Well, good job, Blake. You did it.
I did something. I don't know what it was, but I definitely did it. But man, it's good to get back in touch. And like we were talking about off the air for just a minute, last time we actually spoke, we've pinged each other on the internet a time or two. The last time we actually spoke was at the Fear the Riff Expo.
Yeah, and I think that was the first one that they did.
I can't remember if it was the first or the second one. Where you, man, even that would have been quite a long time ago at this point. 2017
I don't even
or 18.
remember.
Yeah. Man, it's weird how time flies. I just had Josh Scott on again. He was on episode 10, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And
it's a throwback series.
Yeah, we're just doing this whole thing of revisiting past guests and seeing what they're up to now. So what are you up to now?
Oh my gosh, I've been up to so much stuff in the past few years. I don't live in New York anymore, so that's a big thing, I guess.
It is a big thing. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So I moved to New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. My girlfriend and I, we bought a house. So I guess that's like an adult thing, right?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. That's what I'm led to believe.
Yeah. The way that things were going in the city, there wasn't a real good reason for me to stay there other than the fact that I wanted to spend a bunch of money to live there.
Mm-hmm.
So the trade-off wasn't really worth it. And I figured I could do what I'm doing from anywhere, right? So
why not New Jersey?
Yeah. So she had family there. So we're still close to her family. And we're only actually like 20 minutes from Manhattan. So it's still close by.
You're basically there. It's kind of the same with me in Portland. Like I'm 20. Well, it depends on traffic, but
right. Yeah.
But I'm close.
I mean, like from my street, I can see like the Empire State Building and stuff. So
it probably still kind of feels like you're there, I would think.
The neighbors are definitely different.
What kind of different?
A lot older, more reserved.
Gotcha.
Yeah. They don't like the young kids coming in and messing up their street.
Are you messing up the street? Are you being a terror?
No, I think it's surprising because we moved in and we're like really good homeowners where we like, want to keep things looking nice and everything. So I think they're upset because they can't complain about us.
They have nothing to gossip over now.
Yeah. Yeah. So I moved out here. I moved all of my pedal workshop stuff into my basement.
Okay. Perfect.
So my office is pretty close by now.
Back when we first talked, I think you were doing some tattoo stuff also at the time, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Are you still doing that?
Well, let's see. I actually took a little bit of a break from pedal world in general. Around the time we moved, like a lot of things were going on and stuff. So I kind of freaked out and was like, oh, I should get like a real job. Not that guitar pedals isn't a real job, but I just thought that I should do something that would maybe like have insurance and like adult stuff like that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I got an office job and, I worked for an LED company that makes LEDs for like signage and architectural lighting and stuff. And so I was doing that. And I was in charge of like these big projects where the lights change color. And one big job that we had was with the Microsoft stores,
mm-hmm.
where we were retrofitting like the overhead lighting to be able to like change colors and do all this crazy stuff. But I honestly, I'm not cut out for that office day job lifestyle, Blake. I just couldn't do it.
I understand. I understand completely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I held on to that for 2 years and Actually, just like last month, I quit and I'm back to pedals full time now.
Nice.
But yeah, it's just tough, man. It's like doing the same thing every day, you know, for people that don't necessarily like really appreciate it. It's not that good of a thing.
That's interesting that is where you ended up, because one of the main things I remember from our first interview is, on top of all the pedal stuff, you were talking about how you were in charge of, or helped rather, on these big art installation projects that involve a lot of programming and LEDs and things like that. So I didn't know that your former day job actually kind of was in the same ballpark. Were you working with the same things?
It was actually, it was ironically very similar. It was like the adult grown up version of what I was doing before. Yeah.
Got it.
And you know, the more corporate, the more less artistically fun.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, and I kind of feel like myself when I say I'm not cut out for that stuff. I kind of feel like I have a weird sense of guilt about it a little bit, because I know that like so many other people, that's what most people do, right?
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I don't know that that's necessarily warranted, but I definitely feel a little bit, I'm like, man, I can't handle that. And it's like, but so many people do. And so many people are just, I feel like they're like tougher than me in a weird way.
I definitely agree. The people that can withstand it and just do it every day forever, like I have a lot of respect for them, because I just couldn't do it. I'm a baby.
Well, and some people I know, like a lot of members of my family, they simultaneously, while we're saying that, they're like, oh, you must be really stressed all the time. And I'm like, it must just be like a wiring and personality type, because for me, I'm weirdly, even though it's technically less stable, or seemingly less stable, I have a weird sense of, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are times that are stressful, but I have a lot less stress having that control back. What was really stressful to me was, you know, I've complained about this so many times, the listeners probably get tired of it, but putting your vacation a year in advance, you know, like, can I go to this thing? Yes or no? Like, are you going to make it to this birthday party? I have no idea. I might have to work. What do you mean you might have to work? It's 3 weeks out. And I'm like, that's the way that job goes. I might have to work. I don't know. And that was much more stressful to me than being like, oh yeah, there's a thing in 3 weeks. Let me check. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll put it on the calendar. I'll move some things around, you know?
Yeah. One of the things that really bothered me about the job I had was that I was in charge of a lot of these projects, and like 9 times out of 10, the way the projects get installed is there's a lot of user error with the installers.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would usually all fall on me to like fix everything.
Right.
And when I first started, the way that would happen is that I would have to travel out to these places and physically fix things, which, you know, wasn't that bad. But then, you know, starting last year, we would just do it all remotely. And it was a lot of Zoom and FaceTiming. And it was like, you know, 8:00 at night, I just finished dinner and I'd get like a call from somebody that needed me to like walk them through this really complex process of like programming and stuff. And it's like, I don't want to worry about that, you know?
Yeah. It's, that sounds very familiar. Just got out of the shower. Oh, why is my phone ringing? Oh, there's a truck driver stuck up on Burnside that I have to go. Okay, I don't know why I took a shower then, but you know, yeah. And the thing is, like, those jobs are necessary for like a functioning society, and that's totally that's why I'm kind of feel like that weird sense of like, ugh, I can't believe I'm complaining about this, but those jobs are 100% necessary for us to, you know, have what we have as a part of modern life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think inarguably a lot better than what it used to be back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm much happier now, like definitely mentally, but like also I can just like wake up and like I know all this stuff that I'm going to go do is like stuff that I really want to go do and I'm excited about it. So that's, I think, definitely a much healthier thing.
What projects are you most fired up about right now that you can talk about?
Well, I can't talk about one because it's too secretive, but it's something new that I'm working on. That's all I'll say.
All right.
And it's very crazy. Well, I'll just say that.
I like crazy. Crazy is good.
And then I'm just like grinding through like restocking a bunch of stuff that I used to sell that I haven't sold for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So like the muffs that I make and the delays and stuff, I'm making those again. And people seem to be excited about that. So that's cool. And I'm doing a bunch of other stuff too. Like I'm trying to make more YouTube videos. I'm trying to do my own podcast.
Very cool.
Yeah. And I'm also getting into like the whole cryptocurrency, NFT world of stupid stuff that people buy for money for no reason.
Yeah, that I know just enough about the NFT side of that to be dangerous. I understand the basics behind how it works, but what I don't understand is the appeal to the buyer. That I still don't get.
Yeah, I know. The way I think about it now is just that there's people out there that got into crypto and it was, really accessible and accumulated a bunch of stuff. And then now it's worth like a buttload. So they're just like, yeah, I'll spend a bunch of money on this stupid thing just because it's funny.
Right. Is it really that? That's what I thought it was. Is it really that simple?
I think that's what it boils down to. Yeah.
Like I'll buy the first tweet, but like, why? I don't want the first tweet. What am I going to do with the first tweet? I don't care.
Yeah, I honestly don't. I mean, right now, I don't see how anything could like accumulate more value.
Right.
After that. But who knows? Maybe in like 10 years, we'll be having the exact opposite conversation.
I definitely understand the collectible nature of things. And I do think that they're, in this digital world we're living in, I do understand that there can be a value placed on non-tangible items.
Yeah.
I do understand that. I mean, people have been, look at some of these video game companies as prime examples. Like,
oh yeah,
these companies are worth, millions and millions of dollars, sometimes more. And their entire product line is almost entirely virtual. It's almost entirely IP.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of when people are like, "Oh, how can it be value when it doesn't really exist?" I'm like, "Well, it does exist though. Like you're looking at it, you're experiencing it. That's like saying this podcast doesn't exist because it's not physical. Well,
yeah, exactly.
It does. You're experiencing it right now.
Yeah. And what if there was a token that represented this episode right now?
That's kind of hard. That's hard to think about, but it's totally possible.
And someone was like, "Oh, I really like Blake. I really like Tom. I want to collect that episode in some weird way."
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in the future that'll be worth something, or maybe in the future it won't even exist anywhere anymore.
Right. We don't really know.
We don't know.
We don't have any idea, and that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah. Totally.
So what are you looking to do with it, if you can talk about it?
Oh, yeah. So I made Tomkat tokens. And the way that I'm going about it is, so Blake, that I make like really cool looking circuit boards, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar. Uh-huh.
Okay. So what I did was I took 3D models of those circuit boards and I made those into tokens. So it's a way to collect all the weird different like, rare circuit boards that I've done in the past that maybe didn't even like make it into a pedal, but it was like a prototype or something.
Right.
So yeah, I've just been making a small batch of those at a time and putting them On there's a platform called OpenSea
I've heard of
where
it. Yeah.
most of the NFTs hang out and talk to each other or whatever.
Have a cocktail party.
Yeah.
Whatever they do.
Yeah, so my collection of Tomkat tokens is on there if you just search Tomkat tokens, or you could even go to my website, and I even have a menu bar for tokens where you can learn all about them.
I'm gonna have to check that out later. You've piqued my interest.
There you go. See, that's all it takes, right?
What is the process for creating a token like?
Oh, that's a good question. So basically, all of these NFT sites, they either use their own form of currency or they use Ethereum and base all of their transactions on the Ethereum blockchain.
Right.
So like on OpenSea, when you make a token, it costs you money.
Okay. Like dollars.
Yeah, it costs you money in dollars on Ethereum.
Okay.
And it's just the transaction fee to do the math to make your little token exist on the blockchain. And that's what's called a gas fee.
They have gas too? Just like gear acquisition syndrome. Wow. Look at
exactly.
that.
Yeah. It's also in like the same realm of how out of control it can get. For example, like if Ethereum is doing really well, the gas fees can be like insanely high. Like to make a token that I would charge like, let's say $25 for, it might cost me like $50 to make that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But what's cool about making a token is that you can instill like different rules onto that token that always sort of exist. So for example, I have a royalty on my tokens so that anytime they get sold or bought or whatever, I get 10% of whatever the transaction is.
Oh, at any point. So if somebody else takes it and flips it later for just because, you'll still get a cut.
Yeah. And what's cool about that is that like in every transaction, you'll forever see that I am the original creator of that token.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's kind of a way to put like true ownership or like creator ownership copyright onto something.
Is it such a thing, or does it happen where maybe something starts out with a small creator and it gets passed around enough times to where it becomes like that person can kind of become sort of notorious or famous, for lack of a better term, in those communities? Is that a thing that's happened ever?
It's kind of I want to say it's kind of too early to really see something like that. But what the most common thing that happens is that someone will create a big collection of weird, art or gifts or whatever, and then they'll get a bunch of people behind it to hype it up, and then they'll like put it for sale, and then a bunch of people will buy it with the hopes that, yes, this at some point, all these people will be like mega huge famous people.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. The guy, why can't I think of his name? The most well-known one that just sold for like 69 million or whatever. What was that guy's name?
Beeple?
Beeple. That's the one. Yeah. I have heard rumors, and I don't know if any of this is true, but that largely, and I'm sorry to Beeple and anybody else involved if this is completely false, but this is just what I read, that there was suspicion around that transaction that it was done to artificially inflate the value of Beeple's art. And
I see.
That the buyer of that is actually connected to him somehow.
Right.
And this buyer said that they bought it for 69 million and that was a bargain, and that that they publicly stated it's only going to go up in price from there. And there's like a lot of little, or from what I'm gathering, it was just one article, but there was a lot of like, wait a minute, who is this guy?
Yeah. I don't necessarily think it's just one entity. I think it's definitely like a group of people. Are you familiar with the Clubhouse app?
I am. I have it. I'm in it. But the one time I tried to use it, I was kind of in a spotty data place and it was not functioning right, and I haven't dove back in yet. So
I gotcha. Yeah.
I don't actually know how it works, even though I have it.
Yeah, I was because when you join, you can list like different categories of subjects that you want to like listen to or whatever, and then it'll recommend stuff. So I put in there that I was interested in NFTs and stuff, and so some big collective of people was talking about like a big group of art that they dropped with people, and it was like your typical, LA people that really know how to talk something up, with a lot of fluff and stuff, and they have the cool accent, so they sound really cool, and you just want to support them because they just seem so cool. And so that's I got the impression that that's like how most of these big selling NFT like groups are. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just being cynical about the whole thing.
I mean, I'm definitely a little bit cynical about the whole thing. I'm not going to lie. Even though I do think it's cool and has potential, and it's probably because I'm getting a little bit long in the tooth. I'm getting a little bit of white in my beard these days. Yeah. I personally like if I was some mega rich guy, even if it was off of, crypto or whatever else, to me, like having physical items is so much more interesting, like that's why I collect vinyl. That's why I like pedals.
Yeah.
And I think the physicality of things is important to me. And I wonder if that'll become generationally less of a thing.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, I think so. Just like I have nieces and stuff, and they're, luckily they're very smart and they like books and stuff.
Nice.
But, like when I was trying to get them something for Christmas, I was asking my mom, I was like, oh, what should I get them? And they're like, oh, well, this one, she wants a book on American history. And then this other one is really into this, fiction writer. So if you get some books from that. And I was like, okay, all right. It's good that, there's some geniuses being like bred out there.
Right. I also wonder, and I've talked about this before too, of the cyclical nature of things. Like, for instance, guitar is a good example of that, I think. It's been around for long enough in different forms that I think you can see cycles with it, more or less. And I have had this hypothesis for a lot of years that, like, our generation's kids, I think we're about the same age, roughly.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm 32. So I think, like, our generation's kids, especially those that kind of came up alongside of, like we grew up with like rock music being a thing. Like alternative music was largely rock based and guitars were a thing.
Yeah.
And that's what led me to where I am today. And it's such, I definitely have some rose colored glasses on because I'm so deep into the industry at this point. But I can't help but think that some of our children are going to see that and be influenced by it. I don't think there will be like another grunge or another, Jimi Hendrix moment in the same exact way, but I could definitely see their version of a Warped Tour thing,
Yeah, I think that wave could come back around. Definitely. Growing up, that was one thing I was super drawn to with music, was the actual physical performance and seeing it, and nowadays it's still a physical experience when you go, eventually when you can go to a show and, hear the loud music and stuff, but I don't know. It's something else when there's people involved more. I'm trying not to be mean, because I think that, the current state of music, whatever it is, has its place, and it's fine that it exists and everything, and it's cool, but I'm personally just a bigger fan of music that has more interaction with instruments and stuff in a live sense rather than a produced sense.
Right. Right.
Because don't get me wrong, it's hard to produce music too in the studio.
Yeah. I mean, live music has definitely been the number one thing that I've missed through all of this, outside of like, personal relationships and things like that. Like,
yeah,
that's starting to come back a little bit. And that seems more attainable than, going to a hardcore show at this point, Like, yeah, I can definitely see, we can go over to the parents' house, and all that. That's right there. But I don't know about like moshing with a bunch of sweaty dudes. And that's one of my favorite things to do. I love doing that.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Cloudy. I feel like we'd be remiss if, I know this is a sidebar, like we're going down a different path now, but that was a big project for you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that from, its conception to where it is now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. Back in the day, probably like 2015, 2016, I started farting around with modular synth stuff. And where I was living in Brooklyn at the time, down the street, there was this really cool store called Control. Mm-hmm. And all they have is synths and Eurorack stuff. And all the guys that work there and the people that work there are really, really interesting, really like all different types of like spaces of music and philosophies on music and all this crazy stuff. So I was just really intrigued by the whole world of it. And then I found this brand of modules called Mutable Instruments, and they make really cool stuff, but they also keep all of the hardware and software open source, to basically just to inspire like people to make their own modules and, make different versions of them and stuff, as long as you keep it all open source with whatever you do. So,
right.
I really loved the module called Clouds, which is like granular synthesis. And I think the one thing that people mostly use it for is it just has this really nice reverb on it. So you buy this really expensive module and it has all these crazy different features and functions, but you just use the one reverb knob. So yeah, I got super into that. I made my own, like put it together from scratch. And then I found this whole world of people that have made their own versions of Clouds and their own firmwares of Clouds. And I found this one firmware called Parasites, which took all of the modes that Clouds had in it and kind of expanded on them and really like stretched out the capabilities of the module to like it's, what it could like really totally do. So, I mean, they added a bunch of different modes and stuff, like that cool reverb that everybody likes on it. They broke that out into its own whole like patch or whatever. So it's got a bunch of different controls and stuff. So I took that firmware and I decided I'm going to make a guitar pedal out of this because it's like the one module that I want to use the most with the stuff that I'm farting around with, but it's not necessarily all the time like Eurorack stuff or in that environment. So I spent like 2 years, I think, developing my own hardware and integrating everything so that it can work off of, the basic guitar pedal, like power supply and like all the line levels and stuff. And after lots and lots of trial and error and lots of different like code things that happened and took forever, I finally made Cloudy. And it was a pretty cool thing to like finally have come together because I took all these cool things from like the Eurorack world, and I took cool stuff that I really liked from guitar pedal world, like like the really cool visuals, and I guess like I really like buttons that light up and stuff, things like that. And I put it all together and I made like I put like really nice buffers on the input and output. So the audio quality is really nice and everything. And like I had custom parts made for it. Like I have these custom little knobs that light up and stuff.
Nice.
So it was a culmination of a bunch of different things that took a long time and a lot of money, but it came out pretty cool, I think.
And it seems like people really like it. I've heard lots of love for it. So
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's a very intimidating pedal because it does so much, and there's not that much of like a user interface aside from like blinking lights to tell you what's going on and what mode you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be very frustrating. I mean, I've experienced that even just like making it, where I don't know what the hell is going on, and I don't know, this sounds like doo-doo. But then, you click a couple of buttons and you find some cool stuff that's like amazing too at the same time. So
yeah. You've done some interesting things with your line, right? You have things that are just like dead simple. Everyone knows how to use it. Relatively easy for you to build, and also very complicated things. And I don't see a whole lot of other companies or brands make that same kind or create that same kind of spectrum within their product line. Was that intentional, or is it just kind of the natural evolution of you learning how to do this?
I think it's just like a black and white version of what is going on with my brain, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I just keep learning more and more about like cooler, more advanced stuff, I guess. And I'm just like, I need to make this into something.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of like what I'm working on now, where it's like the next step from that.
Is it something? Oh, you can't talk about it. We can't talk about it.
Yeah, I can't talk about it.
The first rule about the next thing is you can't talk about the next thing.
Yeah, there is no next thing.
What is that? What do you mean next thing? What's going on here? So one thing that I've learned, especially from people that have been in and around the industry, and myself included to a degree, is that a lot of really cool and fun things tend to happen that's sort of parallel to, running your business or creating your content or whatever it is that you're doing in this space. Have you had any unusual experiences or things that really stood out to you that were directly from creating guitar pedals?
I don't know. I think I just meet a lot of cool people that I don't necessarily think I would ever meet in real life if I didn't do guitar pedals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like on my podcast called Tomkat Talk, I interviewed my friend who's a professional BMX rider.
Oh yeah?
His name is Adam Banton, and he's like one of my favorite BMX riders because he does all sorts of styles of BMX. And I ride BMX as well. And as I get older, I tend to find that the like simpler tricks are the ones that I like the most because there's less chance of me killing myself.
Yeah.
And he makes the simple tricks look really cool. But basically the way that we met was because he bought a guitar pedal from me, and he bought a fuzz pedal before like he just bought it. And I was like, is this like Adam Banton, like the BMXer Adam Banton? And then, we talked on Instagram and stuff. And then, we've kind of like maintained a virtual relationship since then. So that's definitely something that I don't think would have happened if I was just, not doing guitar pedal stuff.
I did not know that you rode BMX. How did I not know that about you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been doing that since like I was 5.
Dude, that's so cool. I had no idea. What kind of style do you typically ride?
Well, when I was growing up, I was super into dirt jumps, where you try and build the biggest dirt jump and then ride as fast as you can to go flying as high as you can.
I remember those days. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's okay if you go flying and you totally hurt yourself because you're a little kid. But then when I was living,
you bounce back. It's easy.
Yeah, you literally bounce back. But then when I was living in the city, I was super into just riding street, and like one of my favorite things to do with some of my buddies is like, you know, like late afternoon during like rush hour, we would ride from like the top of Manhattan to the bottom of Manhattan, going down like 7th Avenue
Mm-hmm.
and just completely engulfed by cars and stuff and just trying to keep up with that speed of traffic.
That sounds very intense. I
Yeah.
know where exactly you're talking about too. I'm like, woo.
Yeah. You know, and then you get to go through like Times Square and stuff, and it's cool, and there's tons of people and stuff, and yeah. That was I think if there's anything I miss about the city, it's just little stuff like that.
Yeah. But you're not so far away that it's impossible to get that back.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, there were a lot of times where I was very close to getting hit by cars, and there were lots of times where I did get hit by cars.
Oh, that might change your perspective a little bit, especially as you get older.
Yeah. I've been hit by, I think 3 or 4 cars. 2 were like I got pretty messed up, but the other 2 I was fine.
That sounds intense. Usually in the bike versus car war, the car's going to win.
Yeah. The last few times that it happened, where I was okay, the cars just drove off, and even people on the street were just like not even, you know, fazed by it at all.
I guess it is New York City. That's not the craziest thing anyone saw that day.
Yeah, people got better things to do, you know.
Just he'll let him bleed out. He'll be all right.
Yeah, I think he's moving. He's fine.
He's fine. Look at him. He's cool. So I used to be pretty into BMX when I was a kid, and I definitely got out of it by the time I was a late teenager. But I can't help but like look at the bikes that I was riding. Actually still have, but I don't really ride it anymore. But the bikes that I was riding versus what
the kids have these days.
They're like, I had way more crap on my bike than what they have.
Yeah. Also the bikes nowadays weigh like 1 pound.
Really?
You know, and like the bikes that I know I used to ride were like so heavy.
Mine's heavy. I don't even know what it weighs. It's this Schwinn with all the bells and whistles that you had to have.
Yeah, like you got pegs and stuff, bro.
I had the pegs. I got the Orig. I got the whole thing.
Oh yeah, you got the thing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I've got all that.
Because you need that stuff.
If you don't have it, you're not legit.
Yeah. Yeah, but I still follow a lot of like younger BMXers and stuff that are doing just the craziest stuff and making it look so easy. You know, it's very, very frustrating and deterring if you're an older fart trying to do it.
It is. One thing that confuses me more than anything, and this will tell you you're old, Blake, you don't understand, is the whole brakeless thing. I'm like, I don't get it. Like, why do you not have brakes?
Maybe it's an East Coast thing because I haven't ridden brakes since I was like maybe 11.
Really?
Yeah.
Doesn't that like limit what you can do in some ways?
Not necessarily, no. And I'll tell you what, when you're flying down 7th Avenue trying to keep up with 25-mile-an-hour traffic, not having brakes is very liberating.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Or if you're flying down the Brooklyn Bridge on a bike path that's shared with a walking path where you have maybe like 1.5 feet wide to ride a bike.
Yeah, I know the path. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're flying down. It's also very exciting not having brakes.
Exciting?
Yeah.
That's one word for it, I suppose.
Yeah, I have some videos of me doing these things from like the point of view of my handlebars.
Right.
I'll have to put them on my YouTube channel because it's pretty exciting, the stuff that happens.
I'm sure it's very exciting.
Yeah. But yeah, nowadays the things that kids have are so they don't have like freewheeled sprockets on the back anymore. They have what's called a free coaster.
Okay.
Which, if you know anything about BMX, if you have regular gears, if you're rolling backwards, your pedals are going to pull you back, right? So your feet are going to go in reverse.
Yeah.
Which is, it's something to get used to if you're riding backwards. But with a free coaster, that doesn't happen. So you can just coast backwards without your legs moving.
Okay, I'm used to that. That's what I'm used to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how my bike is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're with the times before they happened.
I guess. I don't know. That's definitely how my bike is. I don't my legs don't have to move backwards with the pedals. I can just land and go backwards. That's all fine.
So
like I can do that anymore.
If you do if you do a 180 and you're going in reverse,
yeah,
you don't have to move your legs.
I don't got to move my legs, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, it has all the stuff.
Spared no expense, I guess, right?
I got it from an older friend. I don't know. I had my cheap like Kmart or Toys R Us bike that kind of had all the bells and whistles, but it just fell apart. Like on the smallest of activities, everything snapped. And it was like the guy had a really nice Schwinn that was all decked out, and then he got a car and he stopped riding. He's like, "You want this?" And I was like, "Sure." And it's what I still ride it when I ride a bike to this day. It's held up all right.
That's good.
But the other thing, other than the brakeless thing, the other thing I was curious about is the difference in
the gear ratios.
The gear ratios. Yep.
Yeah.
That seems to be a big one. What's the story there?
Yeah. So the initial gear ratio was it was like 44 teeth in the front sprocket, and then like I think 15 in the rear sprocket.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. So they just realized if you just cut those numbers in proportion, you can have a much smaller sprocket and a much smaller freewheel, and you can save a bunch of weight.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. So I think now the standard is like anywhere from 25 to 30 teeth on the front sprocket, and then like 9 to 12 on the back.
Yeah. So the ratio's more or less the same.
Ratio is very similar. Yeah.
Oh, that makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
I probably could have figured that out if I would.
Yeah, because it's funny when you first see it, you're like, "Whoa, that can't go anywhere when you pedal."
Yeah, that was my thought. I was like, huh? I didn't get it. And then also I remember like there were some guys back in the day, and I never did this because I knew that I would break something. They would do sprocket slides, and I was like, I don't think that you can do a sprocket slide on that, but maybe you can. I don't know.
Yeah, they make. Well, that's the other thing too, is they make everything much stronger now, and a lot of stuff is like titanium now, so super, super expensive, super, super light, and super strong. So yeah, you can do sprocket grinds all day. They use different chains now.
Gotcha.
The chains are called like half link chains, so the links are like half as long, so they're stronger and they can handle stuff like sprocket grinds.
Oh, gotcha. Because they're physically shorter, so it's stiffer material.
Yeah.
Got it. All these things, you've answered all my questions about
there you go, man.
Modern day BMX. Now I don't wonder anymore. That's all my questions. Everything else I could figure out. I'm like, okay, I can see how that frame's different.
Yeah.
I can see how like I can wrap my brain around this.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's the kind of gear everyone was tuning in to hear about. I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. You still playing drums?
Let's see. I haven't played drums in a couple of years. I was playing drums with my friends. They have the Instagram and YouTube channel Data Choir.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was playing drums for them for a while, and it was really fun. We played a couple of shows, did the thing. And then I moved. So I haven't really done much music-wise since I moved.
Are they still in Brooklyn?
They are, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're still in Brooklyn. They still make tons and tons of music together.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, speaking of tons of music, I don't remember if I told you. Maybe I tagged you on Instagram. I can't remember. But the Green Muffer that we did together back in the day.
Yep.
That was an instrumental part, no pun intended, to the longest track that I did on my record I just made. And
which track? Is it in the middle?
It's in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like 9 minutes long or something.
Yeah, I listened to that the other day.
Thanks, dude.
It's good stuff, man.
I appreciate it.
It reminds me of like, explosions in the sky.
Yeah, I've been getting that quite a bit, which I, up until people started making that comparison, hadn't really listened to all that much. So
Yeah.
and once I did, I was like, oh, wow, people think it sounds like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it's
Like,
cool. I mean, it's also, it's very much, you can tell that you're exploring stuff, which is great.
yeah, that piece in particular, I mean, the Green Muffer's first in the chain, followed by a bunch of other stuff. But that piece was all in the moment. And it probably sounds like it, that was just like, I was like, I'm going to turn the mics on. I'd been playing for a little bit. Like I'd been playing for maybe 20 minutes or so with that same setup.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I think I like where this is going. And I just turned the microphones on, fired up my session, got everything going. And I'm like, record. And then that's what came out. And I didn't really mess with it much in the mix even. I did a little bit of just like evening things out here and there. And then I play a lot with panning, but for the most part, that's just how it happened. And
yeah, I think it's pretty good, man. It's a good exploration of sounds, and it just works,
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's coming from. This is not like stuff I listen to. That's the weird part.
That's good.
I don't know what's going to come next, but I'm like trying to work with, like, that got me really excited about making music again. And I want to do a bunch of collaborations. So I think the next record I do, I want to do it like 100%, like each song. I don't know if I probably won't do like some sort of big weird concept like that was, but I want to do like each song is with somebody. And I've already got one in the can that I'm really happy with. Yeah, we'll see. I just want to, it got me all hyped up to make music again. And
that's
that
good.
pedal was
that's
a big part of it. I just
that's definitely something that I think a lot of people are struggling with the past year, really, is kind of getting burnt out on what they're doing.
Yeah. Definitely.
Creatively, whether it's music or anything else, really. So it's really awesome when you can find that, whatever it is, moment that kind of like, kicks you in the butt again.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, it was a lot of like, there's some amount of it that was kind of guilt. And like, I was like, you have all this gear and you just kind of noodle around by yourself and nobody else hears it. And then a lot of the guests I had on late last year and early in 2021, it was like, oh man, these people are making stuff. And, and then like talking to people, I had a guy on, it was after the record came out, but it like kind of reaffirmed. His name's Nedarb, and he's in a screamo band called called If I Die First. And
not every time I die.
Not every time I die. I've been trying to get Andy on for years, but we'll make that happen one day. Anyway, If I Die First, and that's how I got familiar with him. But turns out, like after I did a little bit of research, after he already agreed to come on the show, like he was a producer, or is a producer rather, and he did a lot of work with Lil Peep, who was huge, huge. And like Nedarb was like doing all the beats for him for a long time. And when I was talking to him, he was like, yeah, man, he's like, everything, like all of the biggest things that I've done were done with my laptop and free VSTs. And I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, that's not any less valid than going into a studio, like a really nice studio, and recording like a full blown like rock record. Like it's still inspiring to some people. Millions of people have listened to it. And like, you can make the biggest record in the world from your bedroom now. You should try to do it if you can.
Yeah, I've also watched some videos of people, that have good knowledge of plugins and stuff. And I mean, knowing your way around that and like how to patch it all and chain it all together is a skill in itself, I think.
Right. Yeah. And it comes from just getting in
Doing
there
it.
and doing it.
Yeah, totally.
Just like anything, right?
Yeah.
Man, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we're getting kind of close to the end of the episode, and I know we have some things to talk about to wrap this thing up, but before we get into those final questions, you have anything to plug? You have anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to let people know about?
I don't know. We mentioned the Tomkat tokens already.
Yep.
The one thing that I'm kind of excited about with that whole thing is the future of it in terms of tying together this weird digital thing with actual tangible things that you can physically collect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, for example, this is just a hypothetical example. I decided to do, let's say, another collaboration with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I make only one of them, and only one exists. But then in tandem with that, I make a token of that pedal's circuit board, let's say, right?
Okay.
And then I put that token for sale on the marketplace for like whatever, average pedal cost is. And then someone could buy it, and they have the option to either hold on to the token or they can cash in the token for that actual, special one-off guitar pedal that exists in real life.
That could be fun.
And then if they do cash it in, then the digital token or whatever is destroyed, so it doesn't exist anymore. And then you just have the physical pedal. But if you don't want to cash it in, let's say people, start buying that token from each other, and like the price could go up like to some crazy high amount. So then like, let's say the price is super high, and then someone cashes in that token for the pedal. It's like, do you want to hold on to the digital asset that's worth more than the actual physical thing, or do you just want the physical thing? So it's a weird thing that I think, could have some sort of tangible form in the future.
That is an interesting concept. So like, I could see that working, right? If you made some bonkers design,
Yep.
and there was only, maybe say, I don't know, 5 hypothetically physical ones in the world outside of the digital token version.
Yeah.
Depending on how cool of a pedal you made and how and what people were, probably more importantly even, is what people were able to do with it. Then in theory, not only could the token go up and up and up, but so could the very limited amount of physical ones that exist. And it's kind of interesting to think that, like, okay, say hypothetically the physical ones get traded around, and the token, I would think the token buyers or owners would hold. You know what I mean? I think like you just kind of hold and see what the physical ones did, and then at some point, you could probably like do a 1-for-1 exchange of some sort. If that makes sense. It's like, oh, this pedal is selling for Klon levels now, just hypothetically speaking.
Right.
And then you could, okay, I'm going to cash my token in now.
Yeah. Or let's say, you have a pedal out there that has like limited quantity or whatever, and then you make a special version of it, let's say, or like a special one-off color scheme or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then that special one-off one will get a corresponding token as well.
Right.
And the only way to actually get that one-off cool color is if you have the token and you buy it and you want to trade it in for the actual thing.
Mm-hmm. And so with tokens, so since I'm not as familiar as you are, so with the token, when you say like cash it in, does that mean you would have to cash it in with you specifically? Is that how that would work? Or
yeah, I believe so. That's like where things are getting weird right now, is like coming up with these rules and stuff. Because the way that this all happens is you have to write in like code form. You have to make a contract that has all these stipulations and stuff in it. So that's like the challenging part right now is trying to make that whole process easier to do, to make this idea that I have like an actual reality.
Right.
But yeah, that's something that would be ironed out.
That's cool. That's a cool concept. It could be fun. It could be fun to play with.
And the thing is, like, let's say somebody, it's like if you consider a reverb flip, someone buys a pedal for $400 and then they try and sell it for like $1,000. The original, creator of that pedal isn't getting a percentage of that flip.
Right.
But if you have a token and every sale, the original creator is getting like 10 to 20% of every sale, then the original owner can, still capitalize on any sort of flip in the future.
You know what might be even more interesting? Let me think if I can flesh this out. So what if, again, we go back to that. You did this one offer, really super limited, crazy thing with corresponding tokens, right?
Right.
Is there a way that the token could be traded, and so somebody could sell it to somebody else, and then the holder of that token could somehow get with you? I'm really reaching beyond what I understand about this stuff. So sorry for everyone hearing
it's
my
all
thoughts.
good. It's a new thing, so
like, is there a way that the holder of the token could actually reach out to the company and be like, hey, I'm the new owner of this, and here's the verification details, blah, blah, blah. I want that pedal. I want you to make me one of those, for instance.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, cool. It's, you charge them, whatever you want to charge them, or don't charge them, or however it works, because you are getting a cut of each of these. You'd have to kind of work out the math, but figure out the arrangement, and then they could then sell it to somebody else. And then the holder of the token could actually get a hold of the physical pedal without actually cashing it in and destroying the token. And it could be traded kind of forever that way. But that was the only way to get the next serial number, was you have to hold it and you only get one. And then it has to go to somebody else in order to, I don't know. Is that something that could work?
Yeah, I think that's something that, could be made as like rules or stipulations or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's to me, it's like, I don't know. It's like, so for example, are you a fan of basketball at all, Blake?
I'm a fan of the Portland Trail Blazers.
Okay, there you go.
So the Portland Trail Blazers.
The NBA has their own token thing right now called NBA Top Shot.
Okay.
Where they take different plays that players have, and they take video clips of them, and they call these clips moments. Mm-hmm. And you can buy packs of these moments, and you can, buy and sell these moments on this specific marketplace that only exists on this NBA Top Shot website. And one thing that they do that is kind of cool is they'll make you they'll put out a pack of let's say an all-star game pack. Mm-hmm. And then if you get in that pack, you get a bunch of different cards or moments, but at least one of them will be this all-star player or whatever. And if you want to get an even more rare moment, what you do is you collect all of the all-star moments from that pack that are on a list as a challenge, let's say. So I have to, get 10 different players' moments and buy them and have them. And then if I have all of them, I get access to this super rare moment.
Okay.
And right now everybody's kind of doing that because these moments have a crazy amount of value. A LeBron moment sold for $210,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's some crazy stuff going on with that. But I think in, let's say, guitar pedal world, let's say a bunch of people, also start doing a similar thing here where, they have their own tokens for their own petals or whatever. And then let's say if you collect a certain amount and you put them together, you can have like something that equals, a super rare thing in real life. Or another thing is, let's say you have a Tomkat like fuzz token and a delay token, and you can combine them and you'll get like a fuzz delay token. And then maybe in the future, you could trade that in for an actual like special edition pedal or something.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there's a whole crazy world of stuff that could possibly happen.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting too, because it's something that it's like a digital version of things that happen in the physical world, which is kind of interesting. Like, cause people could like have a, like a promissory note, like this note guarantees you 1, bushel of apples,
right.
at this store between this time and this time. And then if you show up with that thing, they're like, okay, here's your bushel of apples. Like it's kind of a new school reimagining of an old school concept in a lot of
ways. Yeah. I mean, isn't that kind of, you could say that's like the whole idea of cryptocurrency is a reimagining of actual physical money, which comes from way back in the day where everything was like, everything was valued against gold, and then like, well, if no one wants to carry like this heavy gold around, let's make some sort of money that's easier to trade that has value in terms of like what it would be worth in gold,
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's like a, it's a next gen revamp of an old concept.
One of the things too that I've heard, brought up as a negative against some of the things, and I was actually really happy to see that some of this is starting to be rectified, is this is getting into a whole nother bag of things that I don't really have much qualification to talk about, but I guess that's never stopped me before, is the environmental impacts of some of these things is pretty high, I guess, from just like the sheer amount of computers that has to run.
Yeah.
But I actually was just seeing a thing specifically based on Ethereum 2.0 that was saying that is going to be like they're redoing the whole concept, I guess. And it's going to be significantly reduced, I guess, which is good because that's alleviating one of the main concerns people have, I think.
Yeah, it's I've read a lot of those sort of studies of, what is the environmental impact or what is the energy consumption of, keeping all of these currencies like afloat, because it's all just math happening, right, on computers.
Right.
Verifying these transactions and stuff. But yeah, it's like the technology to make it happen keeps getting better and better, right? And then the actual like algorithms and physical, or not physical, but software side of things, they're also redoing constantly to try and get that simpler and to use less energy. So I think it's definitely like not necessarily the biggest issue with the whole thing, but I think it's definitely something that is physically being rectified, like, now and over the next whatever years in the future, that it might work its way down to being, okay, this is much easier than paying with my credit card.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think there are enough people that care about this. And I think there are enough people that are working on it that is almost certainly the reality. Doesn't seem like it could go any other way.
Yeah.
That's my theory anyway.
Yeah, and it's the future, man.
Yeah, man. Don't you guys understand this blockchain technology, man? You don't get it.
Yeah.
It's not about the Bitcoin. It's about the blockchain, bro.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I was one of those people that, because like when Bitcoin first started, coming around, I had friends that were in that sort of computer field, and they had told me about it, but I totally laughed in their face about it back then.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
But I should have just been a much cooler dude, and I would have been like a bazillionaire now.
Yeah, we'd be having a different conversation. We'd be doing this on your yacht.
Exactly.
Be hanging out and just sipping on, I don't know, margaritas, and I don't know what else we'd be doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. Well, we'd be like sailing probably. So probably be
Well,
like
we
looking
wouldn't
at
be
dolphins
sailing.
and stuff, right?
We wouldn't be sailing. We'd have people sailing for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'd be all sorts of entertainment available.
Well, dude,
I would make sure that there was a Nintendo Switch or something, you know?
Yeah, we'd figure it out, right?
Yeah.
It'd be groovy. Well, man, thanks so much for coming back on. We are just over that hour mark, and I have a couple questions I want to get into, and then we'll wrap this thing up. What do you say?
Cool. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. The first one is a new question since you last came on the podcast, and that is, what is your favorite Boss pedal?
My favorite Boss pedal. I think it's the RV3.
Okay.
As a reverb.
Mm-hmm.
I think it had like a reverse reverb on it.
Did the RV3 have a reverse? I didn't know that.
Or RV5? RV3? I don't know. Whichever one had the reverse reverb.
Let's find out. Let's see real quick. Boss, reverse, reverb. There's somebody screaming right now. It's the RV, blah, blah, blah. It's the 6. The 6 is what
I was way off.
Yeah, you were so far off.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like there's only so few Boss pedals that you could confuse it with, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you could possibly get that mixed up.
Yeah.
How dare you? How dare you? And I guess final question, I'll be honest, I don't remember what your original answer was because it was so long ago, but pizza. What's your favorite kind of pizza?
Oh, man. Geez. Let's see. I have a couple. Like I'm a big fan lately of like the grandma style pizza.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking like some thick, soft crust with crap ton of like garlicky sauce on there.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe like some really nice fresh mozzarella on top of that.
Sounds pretty nice. Not gonna lie.
Either that or just like a really nice thin crust cheese slice.
And you're right in the area for it too, man.
Oh yeah.
I love a good cheese slice. It's so satisfying.
Yeah, I think forever a slice of cheese with like a Coke is going to be like the best thing in the world.
It's hard to go wrong, right? It's just, man, I'm hungry now.
Yeah, and just throw an N64 in there or something.
That's right. Playing GoldenEye till the break of dawn. Nice. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much, Blake. I really enjoyed it.
Of course. All right, everybody. For Tom, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones. All right, folks, there you have it. That is it for this conversation. We wrapped it up, put a little bow on it, and put it under the Christmas tree. Or whatever. I don't know. But if you'd like more, there is a place you can go get more episodes and help support the podcast. And that is Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/tonemob. And for $5 a month, you can get extra episodes streamed directly to your ears every week, including more with my buddy Tom. There's a ton of content over there. I don't even know how many hours of extra content you would have access to at this point. I stopped counting, but it's a lot. There is a lot of extra content, and it's just for patrons. And if you go right now, there's actually a sneak peek for a pretty excellent episode right there as well. So I'll just leave it at that. And thank you to the patrons. They help make this thing possible. I really appreciate you just downloading. Seriously, just the simple act of listening means the world. You could be doing so many other things right now, and the fact that you're choosing to spend your time with me, even these last few minutes, really means a lot. So thank you. Please tell a friend, and I'll talk to you very soon. One last thing before we totally sign off here. I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.